Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind me, I have 3 documents from the DOJ production that are emblematic of the massive failure of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. To my right is an email that was sent by the victims' lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact, a list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victims' survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators. Fully redacted. And by the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files, but he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD 302 release. These are the documents that we need that you're holding on to and over-redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see because we can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman.
This is how this works.
Can I have my time back? Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from Kentucky.
All right, I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So
yes.
I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that? It's a political joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
And we invited you in. This guy has Trump derangement
Gentlemen.
syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
You need to
I
get
want
on
you to watch
these
the video.
matters.
Mr. Chairman, please restore his time.
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim time
this is bigger than Watergate.
When I don't answer a question the way you want.
This goes over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where the
I want to know at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Les Wexner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
The gentleman's time has expired.
She didn't answer the question.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, could she answer the question?
Chairman, I was wondering.
The gentlelady's allowed, the Attorney General's allowed to respond the way she wants to respond to any member's questions, Republican, Democrat.
All right, I have unanimous consent request.
Gentleman's recognized for a UC.
All right. This is an example. I'm submitting these 302 forms that are entirely redacted, even when you go to look at them.
Without objection.
I'm submitting a witness statement that implicates Les Wexner.
Without objection.
I'm submitting an article from the New York Times that the DOJ released nude photos and identifiable pictures of the victims. I'm submitting a letter from AG Bondi to Kash Patel, imploring him to quit keeping the files when you found out that they were keeping files from you, because they're still redacting files that you...
Chairman, are we going to recess for votes?
Yes, we are.
I'm submitting for unanimous consent a document of 17...
A profound confrontation unfolded within the halls of Congress as lawmakers presented physical evidence of what they characterized as a systemic and multi-generational failure by the Department of Justice to achieve transparency regarding the Jeffrey Epstein investigative files. Central to the tension was the reveal of 3 specific documents that allegedly expose a disturbing double standard in how the DOJ handles sensitive information. According to legislative testimony, the Department of Justice inadvertently endangered survivors by releasing unredacted emails containing the names of victims who had explicitly requested anonymity. Lawmakers noted that while the DOJ took the time to redact the names of lawyers, the identities of the survivors themselves were left exposed, leading to immediate reports of unwanted contact and harassment. This error was contrasted against the treatment of high-profile figures, specifically billionaire Les Wexner. Documents were presented showing that Wexner's name was initially obscured in files where he was explicitly listed not just as an associate, but as a co-conspirator in child sex trafficking. The Attorney General countered these accusations by asserting that any redaction errors involving Wexner were corrected within 40 minutes and argued that his name already appeared thousands of times throughout the broader document production. This sparked a heated exchange regarding the definition of transparency, with legislators arguing that hiding a name in a specific criminal context is an act of obstruction, regardless of how often that name appears elsewhere in general files. The debate further intensified over the release of FD 302 FBI witness statements. Lawmakers alleged that the DOJ is using excessive redactions to protect the identities of men implicated by survivor testimony, creating a digital labyrinth where clicking on one redaction merely reveals another. The administration's defense remained centered on the lack of credible information, sufficient to bring new cases, while critics maintained that the cover-up is a bipartisan failure spanning 4 presidential administrations, from Bush and Obama to the present day. As the hearing moved toward a recess, the record was updated with evidence of 17 officials who have reportedly resigned in protest over the handling of these files. The proceedings concluded on a note of deep division, with the Department of Justice defending its procedural integrity while lawmakers insisted that the agency continues to prioritize the protection of an elite network over the mandates of the Epstein Files Transparency Act.